What we are going to cover today, what is DevOps and DevOps benefits. What is CI/CD? We often hear this term like CI/CD. So what is that? And how does DevOps fits into the API-led connectivity? That also will briefly talk about. And then we go into the Azure Devops, and then we'll see the demo. So this I'll just briefly talk about from item 1 to item 5, and then I'll show you a hands-on demo how we can set up a CI/CD starting from creating a project demo project, and then setting up your local repository. Okay, so as it is a very long process, so I won't be able to cover whole thing, but I have a demo prepared, so I'll explain everything, and then we'll run this demo and see how this works. Okay, and then I'll have few troubleshooting tips so when you set up your DevOps, and then we can have the question answers. Okay, that's all from my end for the agenda. Then what is DevOps basically? So DevOps, if you see the term development and operations. So in normal project scenarios, you have two teams. One is your development teams, and another is your ops team, who manages your release and other operation activities. And the main goal of DevOps is to bring these two teams together, because in a lot of scenarios, you might have faced in your project that a lot of times if you have any errors in the production while deployment, the production team, release management team will say that, okay, this is a mistake from the development team, and development team tries to defend themselves and then blames the ops team. So these conflicts happen in all the IT world. Okay, so the goal of DevOps is to bring these two teams together and make the process very streamlined. Okay, so it follows few frameworks, and it's kind of vocabularies and practices. It's not a kind of separate language or something. It's kind of vocabularies and best practices so that these two teams can work in sync, and then the gap can be minimized. So the basically the it is to reduce the time between committing a software change, and then how much time it takes for that change to live into production. So that's the main goal of DevOps, ensuring very high quality. Okay, then what is the benefits of DevOps? So whenever someone develops a particular code or piece of code, and it goes to a cycle of testing and then goes to production. So
Hey,
through
Rohika.
DevOps,
Hi, Rohika.
yeah,
Rohika. Sorry to disturb. Looks like they were able to see the screen very small. So is it possible to zoom in or fit to the screen,
sure. Let me see.
or maybe try to share the? How was it when I was presenting it? Was it small or
Mm, it is okay, not small.
okay?
It is actually I shared from there. Let me try to do it from here.
Yeah,
Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. I'm just putting it into a one tab so that it will be better for me to share. Is it visible now?
yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so if I just start the presentation mode, I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
better
better
now.
now. Yeah, it's better now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Fine. Okay, let's continue. So,
Yeah, sure.
what are the DevOps benefits? So, So main benefit is a shorter development cycle because most of the projects nowadays use agile methodologies, and then we use shorter sprints. So each sprint will have a development cycle, and then whatever we produce, the development artifact, will put it into production or the live system. So all the different organization that you see that these days, they want to go to market very fast. So that's the main goal. They want to go to market very fast, and that's why they need faster innovation. And if there is a lot of manual activities in the deployment, so it's a headache for the business. Okay, so that's why they want to reduce the deployment failures, rollbacks. When there is a failure, they want to deploy the latest or the last build, right? So those kind of things can be automated, and automation is the key to faster time to market. And also it improves the communication and collaboration between the different teams, development and the ops team. Also increases the efficiencies of the team, because if you have a manual work, if you want to share a few details like we used to do earlier days, like we used to share the bill and with a release document that you have to do this particular steps, and then after doing this you have to deploy the code. So all these different uh, I mean manual processes, those are automated, so that your release management team and the development team both can work very efficiently. Also, it reduces the cost and the IT headcount with the automation. Okay, so these are the more high-level benefits of DevOps. Then this term like CI/CD we hear often with the DevOps. So CI means continuous integration. So continuously you are building your code, and then you are testing it, and you are creating a build artifact or deployable artifact. So that is the continuous integration process. So it runs continuously. So hence it is a continuous. And integration is like building your code and then putting it every time to your development environment, testing it. Okay. And then the other two terms, which is like continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So there is a very thin line of difference between continuous delivery and deployment. So whenever you say that continuous delivery, so there is a fixed schedule or there is some manual intervention is present there. So that's why it is continuous delivery. And when we talk about continuous deployment, the whole process of deployment is automated. So there is no manual intervention. So like Netflix, Amazon, so they use continuous deployment. So in each day there are thousands of deployments happen in their environments. Okay, and in some businesses, you will see that there is a fixed schedule on in every day. So there is a fixed schedule, or there can be a manual deployment. In that case, that is known as a continuous delivery. And how it fits, DevOps, how it fits into the API-led connectivity layer. So this is a recommendation. This diagram is a recommendation diagram from Mulesoft. So normally, what happens? So we have a build pipeline and your development branch. So in a normal DevOps scenario or CI/CD scenario, we have a development branch and a master branch. If you are following the Git Flow strategy, so there is a trunk flow also. So another is Git Flow. So where you have a two main branches. One is your development branch. One is your master branch. So where master branch code goes into your production, and every time development branch can have other feature branches as well. Okay, so Mulesoft recommends that every time you build something, you should be synced with your develop branch, and then it should be automated. While your code goes through a development branch, that should be automated every time. Now once it passes all the tests in development, then QA, staging, or prod environment, there can be quality gates. So your release management team can enforce some quality gates while it goes to the production QA or staging environment. So that's the recommendation that you see in the second diagram. So there are quality gates enforced by your release management team. So that is the recommendation from MuleSoft in terms of DevOps and CI/CD in MuleSoft. So now there are various tools available in the market: Jenkins, Circle CI, Ghost. and a lot of different tools are available which manages your CI/CD pipeline. And one of the tool by Microsoft, it is Azure DevOps. So it was earlier Visual Studio Team Services. Now they have rebranded it with a new name, Azure DevOps, which is all the different kind of features. They clubbed it together in one bundle. So it has Jira kind of boards, like we have the project boards, right? Kanban kind of boards where we can track the project activities. So this is the Azure board. Then we have Azure Repos. So Azure repositories, I like your Git repositories. So they have combined because Microsoft has bought GitHub. So it is a still separate entity, but Azure also has Azure repositories. Okay. So you can connect with Git repositories, or you can store your, or you can commit your code in Azure repos. Okay. Then we have Azure pipelines to build your continuous integration pipeline, or to build the continuous delivery pipeline. So we have Azure pipelines. Then we have Azure artifacts to store your build artifacts or deployable code. We have the Azure artifacts. And after this, if we have any test cases to be run, integration test and unit tests, so for that we have Azure test plans available. So all the different things, like if you go to Jenkins or other tools, so they have a few features available, but Microsoft has combined all these different features like Jira kind of boards, repositories, pipelines, and storage for your artifacts, so which is called the Azure artifact, and then Azure test plans. So all these features, I'll show you a quick view of the Azure DevOps console. Okay. So then at that point, you'll be able to visualize all these different features. So this is about a high level about the Azure DevOps. Then what is in the demo today? So I'll go through the demo. So we are using Anypoint Studio, Mule runtime, latest runtime we are using, Mule Maven plugin, Mule release plugin we are using to release the build to Exchange repo, and we are so mostly we use Maven to build the code, and then we have different options to deploy the code. So one is Maven. Using Maven Mule Maven plugin, you can deploy the code. That is one approach. And another is using Anypoint CLI. What I'm going to show you today is something different, which is Anypoint Platform APIs. So using Platform APIs also, we can do a lot of things in the MuleSoft environment. So I'll be using Platform APIs to deploy our code, and also using Anypoint CLI. So these two ways, because Maven, most of the places you will see that Maven deployment. So I'm not going to cover Maven deployment. So I'll just high level, I'll show you, not deploy it, but I will show definitely about platform APIs and Anypoint CLI. And I'll be using Azure DevOps free tier, so which provides a monthly around 1700 minutes of free uses. Okay, so we'll create an Azure project, then we'll have to create a Mule project as well, and then we will commit the code to Azure repos. Then we have something called variable groups. So all these different things, I'll go through it. So then I'll share my screen. I'll stop this screen from here, and then I'll share the studio and Azure DevOps console. Okay. So do you have any questions till this point? I'll check the messages here.
We don't have any questions until now. It
You
looks
don't have any?
perfect.
Sure. So I'll share my other screen. Is it still visible, this project, Azure DevOps console, Prithvi?
E- yes, I can see it now.
You can see it, right?
Yes, yes, I can see it.
Okay. So once you create an account in Azure DevOps as a free tier account or your organization account, so I have created a free tier account. So you'll have Azure uh, DevOps screen. This is the screen, and you can create a Azure DevOps project. Okay, so if you go to the new project, if you create a new project here, you can provide a name.
Is it something like this is the first step that which we need to do in the console, or
Yes, so once you log in, so you'll see the first screen here. So this is
okay,
the first screen. And then we have to go to the new project. So first you have to create a new project, maybe for your Mulesoft projects or integration projects. So I'll create a new project here. Okay,
okay, and
maybe
this
I will
yeah,
name it.
yeah, and this project will have all our repositories pushed from the backend,
Exactly.
is it? Okay,
Yes, this project you can create multiple repositories or you can have a single repository as well. So this depends upon your organization. So some organization they use a single repository approach and some follow the multiple repos approach. Okay. So this is a project and you can make it visible or private or
hmm,
public. So there is a limit on the number of private repos or private projects in the free tier, but in the uh, organization or in your client version, so there is no limit as such.
so
So you
public
have to create
mean,
the project.
yeah,
Public
public
means
mean,
it's publicly accessible.
so anyone from the any
Yeah,
person from the outside
anyone can
world
view
can
this
access it.
project.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. Yeah. And version control, we can use Git or Team Foundation version control. So this is the kind of boards, like if you have a Scrum kind of agile boards or Scrum boards that you want to use, then you can choose this work item details. So I'll choose the basic one. I'll create a project here. So this is the first step. You should have a project first. So this is your integration project. So you can have the wikis, you can create different wikis for this, what your project does and everything. And then if you see here, there is a board. So this is a kind of board which is for kind of Azure board where you can have different tasks and then assign to and different kind of status boards you can create here. Okay, so you can have the project backlogs like right like we have in Jira. So you can have create the project backlogs here. You can have the boards, work items, and you can create the sprints as well. So everything can be managed from the DevOps screen. Next, we have this Azure Repos. So Azure Repos, if you see here, integration projects is empty. So if you want to follow the multiple repository approach, so this is the integration projects repo. So if you follow the multiple repos approach, what we can do, you can create a new repository. Let's say I want to create a new repo for my system API for maybe Salesforce system API. This is the repo for Salesforce system API, and then you can create it. And if you want to follow the approach of single repository, you can follow this integration projects repo, and then you can put the folder wise different your mule applications. Okay, so that can be done for commits and pushes. Commits also, when you make a code commit, so you'll see all the commits here. So now this repo is empty. So what you need to do, you have to clone this to your local laptop or desktop or any machine. Okay, so clone to your computer, you just have to click here, click clone URL, and then this process can be done inside your Anypoint Studio. So I'll share the Anypoint Studio in a few minutes. Just I'll cover the details in Azure DevOps screen, then I'll share the studio. So you'll have to copy this URL, and then we can clone the repository in our local environment. Then we have these branches. You can create multiple branches here in your repository, and also you have the tags. So whenever you deploy create something, create a build, then you can tag it. So if it is a stable build, you can tag it, and then that particular build can go to different environments. And also you can have the pull request. Okay, and Next is the pipelines, Azure pipelines. So Azure pipelines is when we say pipelines, this is the build pipeline. And if you see here releases, so that is the release pipeline here. And we can manage environments. Then we have this library. So a library, you can store your variables. Let's say I want to create a variable group here, deployment variables. So in the deployment variables, I can insert the username. I can put the username or password. If I store the password, I can secure it as well. Let's say I'm putting it here and I'll secure it. Okay, so it's not visible at that moment. Okay, so you can store the variable groups and you can use these variable groups in your release pipeline and the build pipeline so that these are reusable. You define it at one place and it can be reusable. I'll show this part as well. Then you have the deployment groups. You can create different deployment groups based on the environment. And next you have the task plans. So where you, if you execute different integration tests, and then you can view the test progress and test runs, all the different things you can view. And also this is the artifacts section where your artifacts, build artifacts will be stored. So what we are going to do, will create a, the repository is already here. We'll clone this repository to our local environment, and then I will show you the project that I have. And then it's a simple project, just a hello world kind of application. Okay, let me share my screen. I've cloned it, and this is the screen. I'm stopping the sharing for this screen. Let me share the studio.
See the studio.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, previously, but now you since you stopped it, we cannot see it anymore.
Maybe let me share the full screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So what you have to do, you have to go to your, this is already, I have created this application, cloning one of the repository. So I'll show you the process. You have to go to perspective. So there is a Git perspective available. So you have to go to the Git perspective. This is the Git perspective. So you can see it here as well. So this is the Git perspective. So in the first screen, you'll see that you have to create a new clone a Git repository. So
Okay.
I've already cloned one repository. So if you click here, clone a Git repository, you'll have to provide the URL that we have copied from our repository. And you have to select, go to the, you provide the username and password credentials. Go to the next screen, and you have to provide a path where you want to create your uh, local repository. Okay, so I'll show the local repository as well.
Roika, Vinith is asking, is
Yeah,
this the preferred approach for setting up the CI/CD?
preferred approach in the sense. So if you want to clone your remote repo, so that is the basic requirement that you should have a local repository setup, because mostly it will be done by your infra team or your release management team. But whenever they will share the details, you have to clone it to your local system. Okay, then you can commit your code to the remote repository. So I'll show you my local repo. So this is the local repository I have created, and it will have this particular mule application code at the moment. So once I clone this repository to the local repo, and then I created this application, this small application I have created. It's a HTTP listener, set payload, and a logger. So this is a simple mule application. And then you will see if it is synced with your local repo. So once my studio, now it is synced with the local repository. So if I create a new project now new mule project, If you see here, project location is the default one, right? So I'll choose the location, which is the location for the uh, local repository. Okay, so at the time I want to choose a different workspace, I'll choose the repository, local repository location, and then I can create a new project here. So I've created this new project, and you will see all these different kind of symbols, this yellow symbol, and if it is not committed into your remote repository, then you'll see some question marks. And then once you make some changes, let's say I make some changes here, set payload or welcome to Hong Kong Mulesoft Meetup, and you'll have to go to your Git perspective, and you see that there is a change. So you'll see the unstaged changes. So you have to put this to staged. So whatever features that is provided by the Anypoint Studio that I am showing you, but this can be done from the backend as well. There are different tools available, like Tortoise and other tools also available. You can commit the code from Git Bash as well. So this is the default feature that I'm showing you, which is provided by the Studio, Anypoint Studio. You have to put a commit message here, commit message, and then you can commit and push the code to your remote repository.
So this is pushing the code directly to the Azure repository, is it?
Yeah, this is pushing the code to the Azure repository. Okay, so I think there was a failure because I changed manually in the repository for the repository which I have created earlier. So that's why it has failed. I have to again pull the code and then I can sync it. But this is a simple application that I have created, and this code is pushed to the remote repository, which I'll be showing you here. So this is the integration project in the way you have created, and then this repository you can clone it to your local environment. So I already have created the local repo. So I'll be showing you from there. So this is the repository that I have created, and this is the Mule application code. So this is a small project that I have shown you. It has a HTTP listener, set payload, and a logger. So this is your uh, Mule application code in the repository. And now, once your code is pushed to the environment or remote repository, what you need to do now, we want to build our code. So next step is to build our code. So for building our code, we have to go to this pipelines. Okay. And if you go to the pipeline, if you create a new pipeline here, there are two ways. One is you'll select the Azure Repos Git. So this is the new way of doing or creating your pipelines. The another is you're using the classic editor. Okay, so I'll show you how the classic editor looks like. So classic editor, if you choose here, you'll have to choose the Azure Repos Git and then the branch, the whatever branch you want to build, and then you will continue. And you have two options. One is your YAML. So this is the new way of doing your building your pipeline. And if you select empty job, it will provide you a visual way of creating all the different pipeline stages. Okay, so you have to choose the agent. So there are different agents available on the Azure environment. So you can choose the agent which is a Microsoft agent or Mac OS agent. So different kind of agent you can store, or you can run your build job. So you can choose the agent, and this is the first step you have to do, agent selection. And then you can add different tasks. Let's say I want to do a Maven build. So this is the Maven, we call this task. Okay, Maven task, you have to add a Maven task, and then you have to provide the path of the POM file, and then the goal, whatever goal you want to execute. And this is the first task. Let's say this is the ambient package goal, and then you can add another Maven goal from here. If you just click here, you can just go here and do a next Maven job. So you can make it as test. First one, you can make it as package. And then once test is done, you have to put is ambient test. Okay, and then these jobs you can do different steps in this classic editor. So another way of doing this is a YAML. So you can build the whole CI/CD pipeline as a YAML format build pipeline script, and then you can use that script. So this is one way of doing this build pipeline. So another way, I'll just show you, is the other way. So other way is if you go to the pipeline, and this is the pipeline that we have built. So if you go to the edit pipeline, so you'll see that different jobs are there, but it will have the pipeline in a YAML format, which you can build externally as well. But if you use the classic editor, you won't be able to do it externally. But this build script, you can create it externally, and then you can use it. You have the option to import as well. Okay, so this is the YAML format build pipeline. This is how it looks like. What you can do, you have a master branch that we want to execute, and our build agent. So this is the build agent. We are using Ubuntu as a build agent, and then different tasks. If you see here, it is also the same task we are using. We have the Maven task here. So if you go to the settings, it will give you the same kind of a visual environment here. And then if you just fill all the details and add, your task will be added here. So this is the first Maven build task. And then we have, because we are using the Maven release command, so we are using Maven release here. And this job is specifically for build. Okay, so we are building the build artifact here, or basically we are creating the jar file here. So it will be a hk mule meetup demo app.jar. So this will create the jar, and every time it will create a tag as well. Okay, so for this we are using release prepare and release perform steps to create the tag, and then push it into the Maven exchange. Okay, so these two steps we are using, and these are the various steps. Now I'll show you another one where we are using the classic ways. So this is one. So I'll show you another one where we are using classic build pipeline. Just give me a moment. I'll just show you the build pipeline. Okay, this is not the one. Okay, so if you see this particular job, and if you compare it with, okay, let me do it this way so that I can show you both. So this is the one, and the left hand side, this is for your YAML format, Azure pipelines.yml. If you see it in the top, Azure pipelines.yml. And here in the right hand side, this is the classic way of creating your build pipeline. So what we are doing, we have created the settings.xml file, and then we have a cache scope here. So why I'm using the cache scope is because every time it tries to download around 150 MBs of jars. Okay, so just to, because if I do not use the cache scope here for the demo, then it will take around 7 to 10 minutes of time to build the job. So that's why I have used this cache scope, so that I can cache all the jars, and then I can quickly build it. Okay, so here also if you see, same thing I have done. I have used a cache scope here. So you have to build a caching key, like you have to put the key here with the pom.xml. It will generate a unique key so that I can retrieve it. Okay, so this is for the cache scope, and this is the Maven test step in here, clean test, and then I'm giving the Maven OPTS. So these commands I have stored in the variable groups, which I am going to show next. Okay, so why we use the variable groups. Then this is the package step. So this package step is similar to in the YML pipeline or YAML pipeline in the left hand side. And setting the Git identity so that I can tag this job and then change the bill number. Okay, so change the bill number in the pom.xml. Every time it will commit the pom.xml and change the bill number. And this release prepare and release perform steps to push the release to our Maven Exchange. And the next step, the last step, if you see, is a copy files to build artifact staging directory. So this staging directory, we will copy the files, whatever is built our jar file, we'll copy it to the staging directory. And then because we have two different jobs now, one is the build pipeline, one is the release pipeline. So to push the code from the build pipeline to the release pipeline, what we are doing, we're publishing that artifact, okay, to a location. So we are publishing to the build artifact to the artifact tree so that we can again retrieve that build the jar file in our release pipeline. So that's why we're using this particular job, this particular task here. So this is the copy the file and then publish the artifact. So these two steps are doing that particular job. And in the YML pipeline also, Azure pipelines.yaml. So you see the same thing. Copy the file and then publish to the build artifact. Okay, so these variables like build.artifact staging directory, so these are specific runtime, these are specific variables for the Azure DevOps. Okay, so for the agent it is a specific variable. If you say build.artifact staging directory, it refers to a specific directory. But if I want to use, so this one Maven cache folder, so in which folder it will cache all your jar files. So this I will define it in the library. Okay, so if you go to the library, because I am reusing the variable groups, okay, I'm creating the variable groups. This is the Maven cache variable. If you see Maven cache folder, this one I have defined it here. So this is the workspace. Pipeline.workspace refers to the current workspace, and .m2 folder in the repository, it will store all the jar files. Okay, and this is the Maven command. Okay, local repo and the cache folder to use the which particular local repo. And another one in the variable groups is, so these things if you define it in the library so that you can reuse it across pipelines, maybe your build pipeline or release pipeline. And these are the deployer variables, username and password. I can make it secure as well. So this is just a trial account, so I haven't make it secure, but you can make it secure. And then platform variables like environments, any point, client secret, client ID, everything. So I'm using the environment because in the release pipeline, as I'll be using mostly Anypoint CLI and platform APIs. So I'm not using Mule Maven plugin to deploy it. So that's why I'm not storing all the different values here. Okay. So this is the library where we store all the different variables. Also, another thing which we can store is secured files. Let's say I have a secure file of different environment variables. Let's say for staging environment, I have the username password is different. For deployment, for QA also it is different. So then what we can do, we can create a credential file. Okay, so we can create a credential file. So I'll show you the how the credential file looks like. Mm,
Yeah. Hey, Roika,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
what will be the jars that will be present in the cache folder or whatever which you are mentioning?
These are the Maven jars. Let's say whatever we define in the pom.xml,
Okay.
whatever you define in the pom.xml as a dependency, all those jars will be downloaded to the. So normally what happens, like when we build a Mule project in the studio, it downloads all the jars, right?
Yeah.
The same thing when because you are, instead of your local environment, you are building it in the agent that is provided in the Azure DevOps. So it's also a machine Then you have to it also has to download all the jars, dependent jars, to that particular folder. That's what I have given as a variable group, that this will be the location where you need to download the jar files.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, understood. And we have from Srinivas. He's saying that do
Yeah.
we need a plugin to push the code from Anypoint Studio? I guess the answer is yes, but I wanted you to answer that.
No, no. In 7.5.1, I mean the last build of 7.5.1 and 7.6, earlier you used to have a plugin separately you need to install, but now not required. So it comes with a Git perspective, and you don't have to use any separate plugin.
Okay, the latest version have that, Srinivas.
Yeah, since 7.6 it is there, but the 7.5.1, the last build before 7.6, it also has, which I am using.
Yeah,
Okay.
and also we have one more question from Shiva. He is
Hmm.
asking, can you throw some light around how does the push to upstream work here? Like from Studio to Repo and then Repo to the Azure Repo. So
Okay. Okay, fine. So Studio, I have shown you from the Studio how we can push the code, right? So once you push the code, it goes to your remote repository. So this is my remote repo. So if you go to the repo, so this is the repository where the code will, you will see the code here. The code will be committed to this remote repository. Now, once you commit the code, so this code commit can happen from Studio to the remote repository at any time. Now, what you need to do, you need to create a build pipeline to build this, because these are raw code, right? So these are not deployable code here. So you need to create a deployable build. So to create that build, we have this pipeline. Okay. So pull push, that can happen from the repository, but to build the code to deploy it to an environment, you need to build this code. So that is the answer for Siva. Like if you want to pull the code or push the code, there are two ways. From the studio also you can do it, and if you use any external tools like Tortoise and other tools, if you use, then you can manually manage it as well from your local repository.
okay, first will it commit in the local, then will it push into the Azure Repo? Is
Yes,
that
yes. So from studio, you can directly do that.
okay? And we have a question from Pradeep as well. Does this
Mhm.
commit the whole project or only the change right?
No, only the change, because we can, if you go to the studio, if you see here in the Git staging repository, whatever changes you make, it will come into the unstaged changes. Then you have to drag it to the stage changes. The same way that we use in the Git bash, like we all the files those are unstaged, then we put it into the staged, and then we commit these files. So whatever files we make some changes. Let's say I'm making few changes here. Let's say I'm making few changes here. I save it. So once I save it, you will see in the Git staging. So this is the file where I made some changes. Okay. So you can compare it also, working tree version. So this is the change file. Only this file will be committed, not the whole project. Okay. Only this file changes. You just have to drag it to the stage changes and put a commit message, and then you can commit and push. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think yeah, only the change files will be committing it.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
And we have
Yeah.
one more question from Shiva. Is
Mhm.
the question is there any automatic schedule pulling from the Git repo in the Azure Devops, or is it a container something like JFrog? You might do you aware of JFrog?
No, we can integrate with JFrog for the build artifact. So we will be using Azure artifacts for now, but there is options to pull the code from your JFrog artifactory as well.
Okay, so
Okay. So
basically
once
it's a,
I go to the release pipeline, I will show you like what are the different options available. So if you want to get the code, you can have different options, because if I go to, I will show you. Okay, quickly I will show you. If I create a new pipeline, and you'll see where is your code. It is asking where is your code. Okay, maybe your Bitbucket Cloud, GitHub, Git Enterprise Repos version. Where is your code? So you can, for us, our code is in Git Repos, Azure Repos. So we are selecting that, and you can select other options as well. So same way in the release pipeline as well, it will ask you like where is your build artifact. So maybe your Azure artifact, maybe it can be in your JFrog artifactory. So it can have different options. Okay, that I will show you once I show you the release pipeline. So is that fine? Yeah. So we were in the build pipeline for YAML based build pipeline and the classic build pipeline. And then I'm using a cache scope to cache all the jar files, all the dependencies. And I'm using variable groups for the different environment variables and credentials. And another thing that I'm using is a secured file. If you have a secured file, like we can have a credential file as well. So this kind of credential file, this maybe for sandbox, this is the credential file, maybe for QA another credentials, and then you can use all these credentials during the Maven CLI release pipeline. Okay, so I'll show you that part as well. But this is the credential file. If you, we have a setting.xml as a credential file, no, not a credential file, setting.xml as a secured file. So you'll see the settings.xml. This is where I am defined the server in the setting.xml server, where I have the username and password. Okay. And then this is the build job which we are going to run now. So we'll see how this build job runs. And in the build job, you have different configurations. So I'll show you what are the configurations available. So this is the build job, and you can have different settings here. So there is a trigger, so which I have made it disable for now. So if you want to put it enable continuous integration, so if you put it to the enable mode, so what will happen every time you make some changes and you push your code to the remote repository, it will come and then it will build your job automatically. Okay, so this is kind of a SCM trigger that we have in Jenkins. So this is the trigger to trigger your build job. So I have put it as disable continuous integration for now, but you can enable it, and also you can put a branch filter. Okay, so let's say this particular job we want to trigger only for master branch. Okay, so when the code goes to the master branch, then only want to build it. So you have this include conditions, so you can include it, you can exclude the development branch. So all those conditions you can put it here. Okay, so you can enable or disable your continuous integration, and also you can do a schedule as well. Let's say at a particular time only you want to build, so these are the schedule completion. Okay, so there are other options as well, like build completion. When a certain build completes, then only it will start the other build. Okay, so these kind of configurations also you can do. So this is your build pipeline, the variables that we are using, variable groups that we have here, but here we do not need any such variables. We'll use it in the release pipeline, and this is the trigger, enable or disabling the configurations. Okay, so by default it will be enabled. So whenever you are pushing the code, the build job will start. Okay, so next is we'll build a job now. So if you have to build a job, we'll go here.
Okay. Hey, Rohika,
Yeah,
Anjali has a question.
yeah.
She says, does this maintain the version control like GitHub?
Version control like GitHub. Yeah, versions are maintained. I mean, it's exactly same because it is based on Git only, right? So
Yeah.
this is GitHub also is based on Git, and this Azure Repo is also based on Git. If you have, I mean, this is the same concept.
Yeah. And we
Okay,
have,
so all the commits. Yeah, yeah.
okay,
Go ahead.
okay, proceed, proceed. Go on.
So all the commits in the repos, whatever commits I'm doing, all the pushes, so everything is maintained here. Okay. So I'll run the build now and I'll show you like how it is maintained. Okay. Any other question?
Yeah, Shiva has a question, and he
Hmm.
says, "Is the Azure Repo same as an Artifactory to keep already built artifacts?"
Yes, Artifactory is, I mean, they have combined everything. Like if you use Jenkins, you'll have to use a separate Artifactory, right? JFrog or any other Artifactory. So here they have a Azure Artifact as Azure Artifact, okay? So where you can store your artifacts, build artifacts. So they have combined everything, like what rather than segregated ways. So they have combined Jira like boards, and then you have the Azure repositories. You have the pipelines as well, Azure pipelines. Then you have the test plans plus artifacts. So where you can store your artifacts, build artifacts.
Yeah, that's really a very cool option. It doesn't.
That's why it's very popular these days. That is the only reason because you have a single place where you can manage your project backlogs and everything, and then you can start your sprints here. Okay, all these options are there. Just a moment, airplane was flying. Okay, just okay. So if you see all the tasks in that build job has successfully completed. It has. If you see here, this is a cache restored. Okay, so because I have stored already the first run all the jar files, and then it is just started it from the cache, and then it has done the maven package and then git identity, all the steps. Then if you see in the repos all the code commits, okay, you'll see the code commits as well. So code commits whatever we have done now by this particular build job, if you see just now. Okay, so you'll see the code commit 1.0.8 because I was using it, and now the snapshot is 1.0.9 snapshot, so it will automatically increase it. Okay. And also there was another question regarding because I was creating the tags, right? So you'll see the tags as well. So this is the new tag that has been created just now. This is the last one. The last one is the latest tag. Okay, so it will tag it this version. And also, if you go to the build pipeline job now, this is the latest job. And in this job, it is published. So if you see that published job that I mentioned, so this is the published job. So we have, so I can define it here, the path, okay? So I have published it to a target folder. So this is the latest jar file. So this is the latest jar, okay? Which we can deploy it or release it to different environments. So this is the whole build pipeline. Okay? But Azure provides it. You can have different stages. That this is the build stage and the release stage in the same pipeline. YAML pipeline. Okay, so you can define it. But just for the simplicity's sake, I've provided it as a separate one as a release and build pipeline. So this is the build pipeline outcome. It has produced a jar file which can be deployed to your mule runtime. Then after this, you have to go to the releases. Okay. And releases, you have this release pipeline. So if I create a new pipeline here, so I'll show you a new pipeline so that it will be clear to you. Okay. So you can create a new release pipeline here. Okay, new release pipeline. So you can, what you can do, you can have release pipelines separately for dev, sandbox, or UAT environment, and based on different things you can create different pipelines. Okay, so you can create a folder as well. So all the release pipeline, you can put it inside a separate folder. So you can create a new release pipeline the same way. It will provide you a visual tool here. So you can see here that there are different templates available already, like deploy to a Kubernetes cluster if you want to do. So these are the default templates that those are available. Okay, so lot of things are by default it is available in the Azure DevOps. You don't have to manually install it. Only few things if you want to use, you can install it and from the Azure Marketplace. Okay, so there is a marketplace available.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Rohika, what is the
Yeah.
extension of the credentials file? No, we have the credential file for different environments, right?
Yeah,
UAT.
yeah. So yeah. So for deploying to different environments, let's say if you are maintaining for QA, there is a separate credential for deployment purpose.
Yes. No, but
So that is the credential.
the question from Ramesh is, what is the extension of the file? I didn't have a look at that. I was not
Or
able.
extension, like file extension.
Yes.
It doesn't have an extension, and I mean that's a catch. Like when you use it, so it should not have any extension. It's just a
Okay.
file.
Uh,
Yeah,
okay, Ramesh, it doesn't have any extension. You can try that when you
yeah,
explore.
yeah.
And one question from Yusuf: how can we apply security like client ID secret or OAuth 2.0?
Okay, so you can have your. I mean, this is specific to your. You cannot put client ID enforcement policies in the build job, right? So you put the client ID enforcement policies on your APIs. So once it is deployed, all those deployments, after the deployment, you have all those client ID enforcement policies and different policies that is managed by the API manager, right? So if you have a custom policy, that particular custom policy code, and if you want to deploy an API, so you will need the client ID and client secret. Okay. So on this, you can have different. I mean, if you want to in your organization, if you want to invite someone, so those things are possible. Like if you want to add new users and everything, so those are possible. If you want to share your build job, am I audible, Prithvi?
You are audible.
Yeah. So this is the release pipeline screen when you create a new release pipeline. Okay. So this is the stage which we want to add. Let's say this stage is the dev environment. We want to deploy it to the dev environment. So this is a very easy visual tool. Okay. So you can add a new stage as well. So for this can be, let's say, this can be a deployment to QA environment. Okay. So this is the deployment to QA environment. And then you can have the add artifacts. So this is the place where you will select from where you want to get the artifacts. Okay, so here you will have different options like Docker Hub, Jenkins, Azure artifacts, Azure Repos. You can get the code directly from repos. You can build it and deploy in the same place. Okay, so because we have created already a build, so we'll use the build option. Also you have the option for artifactory. Okay, so you have to use the artifactory service detail. GitHub also, team foundation, version control. So different options are already available. Azure containers. So these are the options available. So if you select build, then this is the project name and the source build pipeline. So you will have a build pipeline separately. So this is our build pipeline. So we are using this. Okay, all these are default default settings. You can change the alias name. Okay, you can change the alias and then you can add it. Now if you add it, there is a trigger. So whenever the build job creates the build, you can have it triggered. So this is, you can see continuous deployment trigger. So you can make it disable or enable based on your needs, and you can have a pull request trigger as well. Also another thing is you can put whenever there are some pull request, you can have some policies. So I'll go through the policies as well. So you can enforce policies as well. Okay, so this is possible in the Azure DevOps, and you can set a schedule as well. Schedule release trigger if you want to. schedule a release trigger, let's say on Monday at 3 o'clock. So different conditions are available. You can set it. So at that particular time, it should trigger the release. So this is for the artifact side. So you can have the build, you can set the trigger, pull request trigger, and continuous deployment trigger. And in the deployment side, in the stages, you can deploy to dev, QA, and different environments that you have. And also you have pre-deployment checks. So this is the pre-deployment checks after the release and after a particular stage or a manual entry. So if you choose the manual entry, it won't deploy it. It will wait for your action to deploy. And we have the pre-deployment approvals. So in a lot of places, we need deployment approvals, right? So you can choose the pre-deployment approvals, and you can use the users. So the users will receive a notification to approve it. Okay. So you can set some timeouts as well if they do not approve within 3 days or 5 days or whatever is the condition, and then it will be automatically deployed. So this can be set. Pre-deployment approvals can be set, and other quality gates default. So delay before evaluation, all these deployment gates. So you can add different quality checks here. Deployment queue settings is specific to the queues. These are the agent queues. Okay, so this is the trigger. So stage after stage, let's say it has deployed to dev environment or the dev stage, and then after that, what should be done? Okay, so all these are after stage and after release. After this is released, so you can have different conditions like schedules, pull request, deployment, pre-deployment approvals, all these different settings you can do. So that is the one. And I'll go to the release job that I have created. So this is the one which is default. And you have this variables also, you can use it here. This is the variable groups. If you want to link a variable groups that we have already created, and we can use these variable groups here. Maven cache variables are not required in the deployment stage, but deployer variables, you can use it here. Okay. And other things is like there are a few options here: integration, report deployment status to work, or the deployment status, you can send it to the boards as well. So your boards are there. So if you want to send the deployment status to boards, you can use it. So default is this one: deployment status to the repository host. Okay, they will send receive an email. All these kind of different things you can do it. And this is the history. So this is the retention period. Okay, and there are few pipeline settings. If let's say there is a failure, so in case of failure, what to do? So those settings you can also do. Like if there is a failure, just deploy the. If there is any deployment failure, deploy the last successful build. So those kind of settings can also be done. So I'll go to the pipelines. So I'll show you one pipeline which I have created using platform APIs. Okay. So we have Anypoint platform APIs. So this is the build, and I have put it as a continuous deployment trigger. So once the build job completes, it will create a trigger here, and it will get the latest build. And then deployment. This is the deployment section. I'm putting it to the sandbox. Okay, and I'm using. Once you set all these strings, so what you have to do, you'll have to go to the tasks. So in the tasks, you can select the release job configuration. Okay, so the agent. So in one which machine or agent you want to perform your release activities or the release job. So I have selected a Ubuntu agent here. So there are different kinds of agents are available. Like if you are building for Mac OS, so this is the Mac OS agent, and then Windows agent. So I'm using the Ubuntu agent here. Okay. So different agent configurations are here. And if you had, so these are the agents provided by the Azure DevOps. So if you want to use your on-premise agent, so there is agent configuration, you have to install it, and then you can use your on-premise machine. Okay. So these are the configurations. So what I'm doing, because to deploy to the platform, any point platform, we need a bearer token. So this first step, I'm generating the bearer token, and then whatever artifact that has been created. So there is a location where the artifact is created. So I'm using the Linux commands, grab the jar file, and then I'm deploying to the sandbox environment. I'm using the bearer token. There is one important thing which I'm doing it here is there is a runtime variable. So runtime, whenever on the runtime I'll receive the artifact location, I will create a runtime variable as an artifact and storing it as an artifact variable. Okay. So this is the variable on the runtime. So you can create variables on the runtime, or pipeline variables you can already create in the design time itself. Okay. So this I need because I'll search the file, because every time the file name will be different. Earlier version could be 1.0.8 and the next could be 1.0.9. Okay. So that's why I am searching for the file jar file and then getting the file name and deploying to the sandbox using the curl commands. So these are the platform APIs I'm using. Okay. So platform APIs, I'm providing all the details, micro worker, and then all the different things I'm providing here, and the domain name. So you can make it as a configurable item, like the name of the uh, application and other things. And here I am using this variable, artifact variable, which is the our build artifact name, full path of the build artifact, like the jar file. Okay. So if I run this job, I'll open the Anypoint platform as well. This is a trial account that I'm using. Hope my screen is visible. And also you have a platform APIs collection, Postman collection available. So if you want to check different platform APIs that is provided by Mulesoft, because this console has all the APIs, right? So all the things that you are doing from this console, you can do from APIs as well. So they have this platform APIs. So now nothing is here. So I'll run this build pipeline, a release pipeline, create a release, new release. So I'll create this, and this release is created. And then this is the manually triggered, because I am doing it manual. I'm not making it a continuous deployment. So because there are only limited number of times in a month you can do it. So that's why I have made it manual. So this is a deploy. You can check the logs now. It will start. It will try to search for the available agents, and then it will run the job. So this is the initialize one. Then it is downloading the artifact from the Azure artifact. So this is the downloading. It is downloading the file. Okay. Successfully downloaded artifacts to this particular location. And if you go to the next one, just echoing the token, bearer token. This is the bearer token that I'm generating to deploy. So next is this is the jar file name 1.0.8 mule application.jar. Next it will deploy. Okay, so it is probably deploying. Okay, so we'll see in the Anypoint Management Center. So this is deploying. If you see Mule Meetup demo application.
If there is any error, right? If there is any error in any of the step, how do we get notified?
If you have any errors in any of the steps, the build pipeline will fail. And in case of errors, you can configure it there in the pipeline job itself. If there is any error, it can be notified. So there are
Okay.
different options. Even you can integrate with Microsoft Teams or your Slack, so that you will receive a Slack message. All those kind of integration you can do. That's the best part.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, you can integrate with Microsoft Teams, and whenever the deployment happen or deployment fail, you can be notified in the messages. So this is the one for using the platform APIs. So this application is deployed now. Okay, so if we check this, Meetup. Probably this is the output from the application. Okay, so this is using the platform APIs. And another one that I have created, I told you that I will show you that as well. So this is using Anypoint CLI. So this is actually the same. Anypoint CLI internally uses the platform APIs only. Okay, so Anypoint CLI also uses platform APIs. So this is the screen. So this is the download secure file. Okay, so whatever file, credential file we have created, so we have to use the credential file here. Yeah, so this is the download section. You will download this secure file, and then this secure file you can use it in your deployment script. Okay, but for this purpose, just for simplicity, I have used directly. But if you want to use it from the uh, s- credential file, you have a command. Okay, so this is these kind of commands you can use. Okay, so this kind of commands are there. Let me quickly show. Okay, so this is the kind of command that you'll have to use. Okay, so probably this is visible. So Anypoint profile. So I have, if I have a profile of sandbox, then I'll use this profile from the credential file. Export Anypoint profile equal to sandbox. Okay, so this is the credential file. So it will be stored, once downloaded, it will be stored in the agent.temp directory. Okay, and then you can use all the different configuration or credential that you have stored in the credential for sandbox. You can use it here. Okay, client ID, client secret, and different configuration. Just for simplicity, I'm using I mean from here, not from the credential file. I'm using from the variables declared in the pipeline variables. So if I create a release for this one also, the only difference is every time, because it is a npm, you have to install the Anypoint CLI, and every time your agent will be different because it is on the runtime, right? Unless you are using a dedicated your agent. So every time it will install. That's why you have to use this npm install Anypoint CLI. So I can create a release here. This is a release 13. So this is also, I've made it manual. So I can deploy it. We'll see the log. It takes some more time than the platform APIs. Platform API is the fastest one. Second is CLI. Third one is your Mule Maven plugin deployment, which takes more time than this. And you can put different configuration. Like if you want to put to your business group, then also you can do it. So you have the scripts that scripts you can use it. So it is installing the npm, and then it'll deploy it. So this is the initialize step, and then downloading the secure files. So it's not using the secure file here, but you can use the commands and then use the secure file credentials as well. So it is first installing the npm. Prithvi, are we on time or it's getting late?
We are on time.
Okay,
It's not getting late.
okay. I'll take just a few more minutes once this is deployed. And you can do a lot of different things, like you can use a Windows agent or a Linux agent, and then based on that you can configure all those parameters, like from a specific path you can get the artifact. Oh, it failed for some reason. No such file or directory. Okay, so what it failed is, so I haven't made it like finding the artifact, I haven't made it configurable like the previous job, so that's why it is failing. So what I need to do here, I need to edit the pipeline, and this job is actually using the file name itself here. So in the last job in the platform APIs, I was using the configured one. So every time it will take the file from there, but here I'm using the direct file name. So that's why it has failed, because earlier file is not available. So I'll have to save it, and then if I do a new release, it will be successful. So you can make it configurable. Everything is configurable, like the platform API deployment. So in the platform API deployment, it is not manual. So it is directly getting the files, whatever is produced from the build job. Okay. So if I show it here, this is the CLI release pipeline. This is the platform API. So in the platform API, if you see, so this is the steps where I am finding the artifact from a specific location. Okay. So I'm using the Unix commands to find the artifact, and then this variable I'm using it in the deployment. So in the release step, this should be fine now for the CLI deployment because I have provided the latest file name here. Because every time file name will be incremented with new builds. Okay, it will be deployed here. It will take some time. So it looks very simple, but whenever you are deploying it, there could be few issues, and one of the issues is your permission. So if you have a pipeline job, so I'll go to the pipeline job. So this is the pipeline job. You'll have some permissions as well. So I'll go to the permission and your project permissions as well. So it requires the permissions. Just a moment. I'm going to the permissions, project settings. You'll have the permissions here. So for these projects, you'll need the contribute permission. So all these permissions you need to set. Okay. So this is a required step. Also for your repository and the build pipeline, also there is a configuration. Okay, so this is the permission for your build pipeline job. Okay, so this contributor permission is required if you want to use the Maven release plugin, because and you are using tagging every time you want to tag the build and then increment in the pom.xml, you will need the contributor permissions. So for this project collection build service account and for the account which is building, this is the build service. Okay, so all these permissions are inherited here. Okay, manage build queue, you need to maintain these permissions. Okay, so sometimes you'll face issues that your tag is not created. So all these kind of permission you can resolve using this permission will be required. And if you see here from CLI also it has deployed demo app CLI, which whatever is an app name that I was using. So it's the same build but using CLI. Okay, so this is the same thing we have done. So these are the two ways that you can do. One is your endpoint platform API, CLI, and the Maven one. So on this, what you can do, you can implement your code checking unit test cases. So you can run the unit test cases, but the only challenge at the moment is you can run unit test cases, but the reports cannot be exported. Okay, so the report that gets generated and you see in your studio, that report is in a different format, and that report publishing that report plugin is not available. It's still in development for Azure DevOps. But what you can do, you can make the build fail based on some conditions, right? That if your coverage is not 80%, then you fail the build. So all those kind of configurations are possible. So if I go to, so I have one project already, so I'll just show you how it looks like in the test plans. If I have it, so test. runs. If it stores the previous runs, I can show you. No, it doesn't have any previous runs, but it will show you a report that it is successful. How many test cases are successful, not the coverage report. Okay, so your coverage report you cannot export at the moment. HTML, it has a HTML format, so we do not have that plugin yet in the Azure DevOps. You can also run, you can configure your uh, MUnit here. That is one thing. Another is your static code analysis tools. Okay, so those also you can configure it here. So that's all. Our both the applications are deployed. If you make it very, automated deployment, then it can be automated once you make a. So dev environment should be automated every time. Whenever we are making some changes, it should be going to your dev environment, and all the automated test cases should be run. Okay, that we can perform.
Okay, thank you, Roika. Is that done? Is there anything else you wanted to share with us?
No, just a few resources. So generic contribute permission errors. If you see these kind of errors, and then at that point you'll have to check your permissions. And there are a few environment variables. If you go to the Azure Docs, so Azure Docs is very exhaustive, and then you can check all the different things in the Azure Docs for Azure DevOps Docs. Caching and runtime variables that I have already shown you. You might have some quiz questions as well. So I'm just reiterating whatever I have covered. The agent configurations are there, and terminal prompts disable error. If you see this kind of errors, you have to check the permissions. Variable sharing that we do using the libraries. If you go to the libraries, you can create variable groups, and in the YAML file, you can create a deployment job as well, or deployment stage. And this particular feature, publish HTML reports, that feature is in development. So you cannot really publish your MUnit coverage reports. Okay. So that is the only limitation at the moment, but it is in development. In future, it will be available. Yeah. That's all from my end, Prithvi. So if you have any questions,
Okay, thank you, Roika. It was a very
probably people are waiting for the quiz trivia, right?
yeah, sure. Let me turn off you from the presenter mode off, and then, uh, guys, do any of you have any questions to ask for? So we'll wait for maybe 5 minutes, and then we'll start with the quiz. Looks like the presentation is very clean and clear. No one has any questions at all. Roika, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. There was some issue. I was not able to unmute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was not able to unmute, so now it is fine.
Yeah, someone has a question. Is there any REST API to deploy multiple applications in one release pipeline?
REST APIs, platform APIs are there, but you can have multiple stages you can create at the same time. You can, two. So in the stage, so I have shown you the stage, right? At the same level, if you have two stages, so you can deploy it. Or otherwise, you can deploy to one stage and the next step, next stage. So it can be done. You just have to configure it that way.
Okay. And yeah, that's it. So shall we move on to the quiz session?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, guys, turn on. We are going to play Kahoot quiz. So make sure you you open the website, Kahoot website, and we will be sharing the pin soon. And later you can play the game. Let me share my screen. Yeah, the game is generating. Yeah, are you able to see the screen, Raika?
Yes, yes, it's visible to me, but it is waiting for players. Okay.
Okay,
It's showing
I'll
waiting for
type
players.
the pin as well. The pin
Pin
for
is
the game is this. Yeah, we have the first participant. Yes.
okay. We can see number of participants here as well, right?
Yes. Yes, there are eight totally right now. We'll wait for some 5 minutes. Let everyone join it. There are
Sure,
around
sure,
20
sure.
people. 12.
One participants today.
Yes, that's correct. There were 25. I think 4 or 5 left.
Okay.
16 people are in, and including us, it will be 18. So three numbers. Who are those three guys? Do you guys want to play the quiz or not?
You have
I'm going to off the
exciting
session.
prizes, right? You will receive training vouchers.
Yes,
So
training vouchers and also certifications as
yes.
well. Someone left. So four people. The other guys are not. They don't want to join. Guys, I am just going to wait for another 2 minutes. Where to join? Kahoot. Open Kahoot website and try to enter the pin 5312800.
Possible to put it in the chat box, like the link.
I've already
Oh, okay.
entered. Let me type again. Yes. Kahoot. It's not Kahoot. It's Kahoot.
Manohar is asking where to join.
Yeah, it's Kahoot. Kahoot.it. Okay, Shashank has shared link for us. I am also sharing it. You can click this particular link and enter the pin. 17, 18, 19. There are two more guys. Two more. No, there are total 23. Should be 21. And we have 17. Four people. Maybe they are, yeah, 18. Someone joined just now. One more minute, guys.
Prithvi, you can, I think you can enable few people's and take a snap as well if you want to publish
Yes,
it.
yes. I'll be doing it at the end after this quiz
Yeah,
session. We'll be having a photo session as well, and also there is an exciting offer from Mulesoft, so wherein you can complete the training course and you have a chance to do a certification when you complete the course. So don't exit, guys. There is something else coming up. Yeah, the person who is DP, try to enter your full name. It's very difficult if you are the winner and MuleSoft. Yeah, Vivian Fernando. Yeah, I've exited you DP and try to give your full name and enter again. The rest of the guys looks fine. A person called DP. Who is the name of the person? DP?
I think
It's Dhyaman
Yamana code.
Gaud Patilu. Dhyaman Gaud Patilu. Try to enter your full name and join the quiz again.
I think now we are good.
Yeah, I think yes, we are good, and I'm going to log this. Yes, start. So the first question. Come on, guys, come on. 15 correct answers. Okay, Pradeep is top. Yeah, next. Question number 2. RAML stands for what? Oh, 17. 17 right answers. Looks like this is the easiest question.
Yeah.
Okay, Pradeep is still leading. Let's go to the third question. Who is the CEO of Mulesoft, guys? Oh, this will be interesting. Let's see the board. Wow. Okay, let's go to the next question. Which of the following is not a valid Mule Maven plugin goal? Wow, 17 right answers. Nice, guys. Let's see who. Yeah, Shashank is on top. Prasanna Kumar and Pradeep. Only few more questions left, guys. Try to be careful.
Yeah. 19 answers.
Wow. 11 guys answered it. Nice. Yes. Oh, Shashank is in top. Prasanna Kumar and Anjali are on the lead. Guys, be careful. There are only 2 more questions left. Anything can happen. Here you go. Oh,
This was
only 2
interesting.
were able to answer it. ESB provides a solution to the problem of none of this. Okay, here comes the last question, guys. Okay, let's see the vote. Oh, only Shashank answered it. Prasanna Kumar and Anjali. Yeah, last question. Yeah. Whoa, 10 guys. Okay, now let's see who's the winner. Third position goes to Anjali. Wow. Second one, Prasanna Kumar. And here comes our hero. Who is that? Oh, Shashank.
Yeah,
Wow,
congrats.
congratulations, guys. Let me grab a photo of it. Yeah, you guys will be getting an exciting gifts from me, and I'll be sharing them to you. Congratulations to all the winners. So the first is Shashank, and then the second one is, who was that? Let me see.
Kumar.
Yeah, Prasanna Kumar was the second, and Anjali is the third. Okay, so let me share another screen. Application. Are you able to see the screen, Roika? No, not this one. Start from here.
No, it's not visible yet.
Just a second, guys.
Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. Yeah, we just finished our quiz, and what are the notices for the next meetup and all? So we, as I was explaining you, there's a very exciting offer from Mulesoft. It's a part to the certification bundle, which is a self-paced course and also instructor officers. You can earn a free certification upon completion of the course. So here, the link for that is this. I will be sharing you the link in the chat window so that you can fill out your form and get a chance to do the certification. Where is, yeah, just a second. Yeah, here is the link where you can register it. And yeah, what's next? We just need to hashtag it and then share your feedback to the Mulesoft at meetups@mulesoft.com. So for better solutions and all. And our next event is coming up probably in the month of February. That's what I'm guessing. Let's see, we might find some interesting speaker with an interesting topic and entertain all of you guys. Okay, now let's take a photo. All the candidates, let me enable all the video. How to enable the video for this for all? Roika, how do enable all the guys
I think
video?
for few candidates, for few participants, you can enable the video. Make them a presenter. It should be on them.
Yeah, make them presenter mode on. So I have to click individually.
Yeah, I think for all it's not possible.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me click it. Guys, try to turn on your video. We are going to have a photo, and I'll be posting this to the Mulesoft team, and they will be sharing it. So you will be on. I'm just enabling the presenter mode for each and every one of you guys so that you can turn on your video. Is there anyone whose presenter mode is off? I don't think so. Prasanna Kumar. Oh, he's one of the winner. I didn't know. Okay, I think the presenter mode is on for you now, Prasanna Kumar. Srinivas Reddy Vatula. Oh, it's not working for him. Why is that so? The presenter mode is not working for Prasanna Kumar.
I think it's already on.
Oh, is that okay?
Where
Okay,
it's showing
guys.
presenter mode off.
VVN first.